Welcome to week. Wait, I went so close.
Week one.
This is week one, everybody. I'm not sure if everyone can see me. There we go.
Alright, so basically on Monday we were in the Mac room and he was basically just talking to us through what we're going to be doing in our FMP. Hello, Jacob. In our FMP, and it's basically what we've done in week one and week two, but kind of put together. And there's also stuff like proposals that we're going to be doing this term that we haven't done before, which is also a new experience. Would you like to say anything about the FMP?
To be honest, I'm excited that it's the Crucible. I know it's a challenge because, as Jamie said, like the language is different compared to our language now. Like, of course, he's told us like not to worry about the Boston accents, but still, the language they use is like for real different. But absolutely, the more we actually look into our character, understand it more, then you're good.
Especially when we learn the lines, we'll be more comfortable with the way they pronounce words and the punctuation that's used.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So wait, you're joining now, Jacob?
Okay, sure, I'll join.
That was going to be 20 minutes!
What? it's alright. Come on.
Okay, alright, so
I didn't put the questions down.
I think for me personally,
I'm just doing it off memory of what stuff we put.
Jacob, could you give it my Viva?
Okay, carry on. So yeah, how did you think of the first day? The first day we got to introduce our... Well, we were introduced to our
the
characters.
Full script, basically, and the cast of who we're going to be playing.
And then we just read a little bit of the scripts, like as
this
Jamie...
feels more like me and Ricky.
Jamie...
You guys want to do your own?
Jamie...
Because there's technically no point.
Do your own, you two. Alright, it's just us two now.
This is us two.
Okay, so...
It was a bit chaotic.
What was I going to say now? He told us that when actors get their script, they sit together, like, I'm not sure what it's called, it's something table. Table something. Something table. I don't know what it's called, but it's something to do with that.
Table reading or something.
Table reading, I think that's what it's called. Table reading. Actors get together, they just read through the whole script, and then after that, sorry for the line, we're doing a Viva! Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the worst place to do a Viva.
I know, it is the worst place.
Taken, so.
Every place was taken.
We're doing a Viva.
As we were saying, we got together, we had to read through the whole script. We had to read through our whole script. Well, we have to read it. We've just got to like page 40 or something like that.
We've read basically the first scene of the play, and because some of us have played different characters already, it's kind of weird getting used to a different role, because say before Ricky played Giles, and now he's playing
John
Proctor, which are two
I know.
major different people, and he has to use more lines than what he had as Giles, as well as he has to learn a whole new character as a whole.
Like on my what's it called, WordPress, I have so much research on Giles Corey. Mm-hmm. Now it's more or less gone because I have a new character now. So like, okay,
it's like you're
with all this research, whoever's playing Giles Corey, I might as well just give it to you now because I more or less just did your homework. You're welcome. It's kind of sad, but hey, I'm fine with my new character now.
And like, I played one of the children in the last term's performance, and because the children didn't play much of a big role, I didn't have much lines that I had to learn. So by playing Elizabeth Proctor, who we haven't been really introduced to through the script, and so that's a whole nother thing that I have to learn, and everyone else has to learn off of me, because it's like we have seen her in the movie, but it's the way I want to show her through my own performance in a way.
Yeah. So more or less just read for our lines. That was it on Monday. And strengths about my one is that you sort of like, I sort of like got the gist of like what I was aiming for, because because James, he was John Proctor, so I knew like, I went there. When he acts out John Proctor, I was like, okay, so John Proctor's that sort of person. He's sort of like a strong guy who's protecting his wife and gets really ticked off when his wife gets accused of witchcraft by a fraud Abigail. So I was like, okay, I sort of get the gist of the whole play. I think the weakness for me is let's just say me learning. Well, I can learn my lines. It's just start reading them because I'm dyslexic. Yes, and when I see words just so close to each other, I have a hard time reading them. But I don't need glasses. It's just that when they're so close to each other, I'm like,
especially with it printed out the way it is.
It's like, is that my line or is that someone else's line? I just can't tell, or I don't know when to stop because there's no full stop or nothing. But oh well.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I think my strengths are I can definitely learn my lines quickly once we've cut out what we needed to in the play. But I feel like my weakness will definitely be my cues when I have to come in, because it is very repetitive of who's after you, or sometimes it's complicated because say if I'm having a conversation with Proctor, after a while Shiva comes in and I'm like, oh okay, who am I talking to in that kind of part of the play. So I feel like that's something I'm definitely going to have to work on a bit more, of remembering who is it I'm actually talking to.
Yeah, I think a way for me to overcome my weakness is just to read it more and like highlight my ones, like my lines, because once I highlight them, I'll know, okay, that's my bit to talk about, something like that. And yeah, I think that's about clarifying Monday.
So
Tuesday was more or less the same thing, to be honest.
We started on the second scene, where it's mostly Elizabeth and John talking to each other, which was definitely an interesting conversation that they had. And mostly in that one, we I think it was the first time we started cutting lines out, and by doing that we kind of learn a bit more on how it is to be in a proper a proper area where we would have to do that ourselves with the director. So it was nice to experience that side of it and not just get a whole copy that's already been cut for us.
Yeah, the way how Jamie said it, he was like, it's best to like cut scripts out, because if Jamie could easily just cut out lines, like, alright, here you go.
But we don't learn anything.
But we don't learn nothing if that's the case. Like, you rather get the script, go over with your director, like, okay, we can cut out this part because I feel like it's might not be irrelevant, but like just not needed to say.
Yeah. After that, we picked our class representatives, which was a new thing as well, and from that we've just learned that we're able to voice our own opinions of the course, and how we would either want stuff to improve or like what we actually like about the course and stuff like that. It just gives us more of a voice as a class.
Yeah. And that was Tuesday. Let's talk about Wednesday. Wednesday we had Ryan. We did a little exercise which was kind of relevant to what we did actually. It was about like focus, like, and our cues to like, well, not speak, like we mainly focus on like our senses, really, like our sense of sight and sense of like hearing.
Yeah.
Because one of the exercises was like, I received the call in, I don't know, Mary or something like that. That was to do with like our sight. And then Jamie told us to close our eyes. And then someone will shout out.
Yeah, laser sense.
Ricardo receiving, call in Abby. And that more or less just told us that, what did it actually teach us actually?
It just teaches us that we can't just rely on one sense. We have to try and use more than one. Otherwise, it's going to be like, say, if me and Ricky were on stage and I was just listening to him, but I'm not really looking at his direction, then it just looks like we're not really having a conversation at all. We also started looking. The first exercise we started picking out words that best describes the whole Crucible play, and then after we started to represent some of those words through just our hands, which was a bit challenging.
The hands ones was fairly simple because I was like, okay, we can do like, there's lots of stuff you can do with your hands really, and people actually get, for example, praying, strength, and all that sort of stuff. Like people get.
It's mostly like the predictable stuff.
Yeah, I think the hardest one for me was the head one.
Head to shoulder.
Head to shoulder, and we just had to like, we couldn't move nothing. We just had to move our head or shoulders and our facial expressions, of course. But that was the most challenging one.
We also had to describe an object that Ryan gave to us, and kind of describe it in a way that you see it or smell it or what you want it to be used for, which was mostly used to act out by our legs, which was also very tricky because mostly when you perform it's always in the face or the voice, it's never really the body, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Afterwards we then performed them in front of the class in small groups. And then do you want to talk about what we done after that?
After that, we did like a little spell sequence, like we all got together.
And used moves that we created.
And used moves we created, and we had the lights off, and each of us performed all our moves together. That exercise was fairly easy when everyone was focusing and actually committed to do all those like movements. Because if we were all talking and weren't listening, then it wouldn't work. But we were all focusing and listening, which actually helped a lot. I found the exercise pretty good. Only thing that got me was when the cues, and as I said, the warm-ups we did were kind of relevant because you have to know like our time to like know our cues more or less without us actually hearing or something like that. I'm guessing.
Because otherwise, if we were to perform, it would just be like you say your line and then a space and then I say my line.
Exactly.
But sometimes we need to speak over each other, which some of us are too polite on doing. But I think overall my strengths would be my timing because when we were doing the exercise, I knew exactly when to raise my arm to the sounds of the music and that kind of stuff. But I feel like something I definitely need to work on is my movement because I seem to rely more on my voice. Which is not ideal because you have to embody the character as a whole. So that's something I need to start working on.
I think I need to start looking at movement a little bit more as well because my projection's fine when it comes to. I think even Ryan said to me as well that my projection definitely has improved. I think it's just like movement-wise, like hand gestures fine, of course, but like where to stand in certain places, I just like move around.
Like more spatial awareness.
Yeah, exactly. Like I need to know like where to stand, like walk with a purpose more or less.
Yeah.
And yeah, that covers up Wednesday. Thursday,
which
again,
was today.
We did the same thing, read through our lines, and talked about like what else? What we talked about?
It was mostly the same thing that Jamie talked about us before about how it's very important that we do.
That's it. Yeah.
Cut the lines ourselves. Otherwise, it's going to be like we won't fully understand why that line is cut out or how it will help us not only just imagine the audience is watching us and it's like if we perform in front of them they'll have no idea because there's so much information thrown at them.
If I'm giving them like lots of information, then I'm probably going to black out like what's he actually talking about.
And then probably a couple minutes later you're going to be like, wait, what's going on now?
Exactly. It's like you've got to cut some stuff down.
Because what I noticed in the courtroom scene that we done last term is that when we performed, I felt like there were some parts that could have been cut because there was just a lot of things going on. And once talking to the audience, they even said like they were a bit confused on what was going on.
You got to cut stuff down.
Yeah.
Like even and plus it's got to be accurate to like the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because otherwise we're just going to take all the ideas that the writer did have and just not use them.
Exactly.
Strengths, I would say that I think there's not much to say about strengths in this lesson since we didn't really do much except for going through the script, but I could say that my weakness is trying to pronounce my words because there's certain vocabulary that is just, it looks different than how you pronounce it. So it gets a bit confusing when you try and say it out loud.
And how would you overcome it?
I think the thing that would help me overcome it is probably practicing a bit more once I got all the lines cut. Like probably spend more time on the lines that I don't fully understand. But what about you?
For me, I'll say my strength for this week is probably getting like the gist of like a whole movie and like what's going on and everything like that, and like my characters, like I know each of the characters and how they are. My weakness would be like pronouncing the words as Abby says, because like it's hard for me to like read words off paper. How I can overcome it though is either highlighting my bits of the words, or having like a coloured piece of paper, or having someone read them out to me, or just like for example watch the movie, because I know like that helps a lot.
Or maybe even look them up so you know exactly what you're trying to say.
Exactly, or understand what I'm actually saying as well.
But why are they using that word?
Exactly. If once I understand the contents, then I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that was our first week.
That was our first week. See you later.